Based on your choice of tattoos, you were meant to work at a rock radio station in Kingston. Would you show us, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got four lyrics right there, four different songs. I've got Courage, I've got Something On, I've got Fully Completely, and Depression Sweet is right up over there.
So, when did your love of the Tragically Hip begin?
It was actually my parents. I grew up, or they grew up listening to them, and then brought me into it. First ever concert they took me to, first ever concert I ever went to was actually a Hip concert, and it just snowballed from there. And I mean, your parents love them, so obviously you want to love them, and it just grew and it grew and it grew. And they're Canadiana, they're pure Canadiana.
Tell me a little bit about that, about how you've grown up with them and how much they represent your identity as a Canadian.
Well, I mean, obviously they sing about where we live. They sing about our history. There's a lot of Canadian bands who sing about certain things, but they are pure Canada, and they never they were big in America, but they really blew up, and they are Canada's band. Right? That's the way Canadians look at it. They're our band. Sure, they go to Buffalo and they're big and this and that, but they're Canada's band, plain and simple.
You're a West Coast boy, now here in Kingston. What have you discovered in the year you've been in Kingston about what the Tragically Hip means to this city in particular?
This city, it's hard to even describe. You talk to people and it's like, oh, I used to hang out with Gord, or oh, I've seen them here, or oh, I see Paul Langlois walking down the street, or Rob Baker walking his dog, or even for some people it just goes, oh yeah, no, that's just Rob Baker downtown. It's like family here. It really is. I talk about their Canada's band, but they're also Kingston's children. There's an insane amount of pride for this city that the Tragically Hip are from here. And we can play a Tragically Hip song probably every 5 minutes and nobody would even bat an eye. It is a way of life out here, and it's like nothing you've ever seen with any band.
With this news and the terrible struggle that Gord has been going through, how do you think Kingston's going to respond and is affected by what's happening with Gord and the band?
Well, obviously, everybody's had some time to process the news and process everything. And we all knew that the last show they played was the last one we would ever see. So it was a unique experience, right? You don't often get to say goodbye to your favorite band, or you don't get to say, you just don't, right? A lot of times people say it's a farewell tour and then they play 5 years later or they play 10 years later. We knew this was the end. So everyone's had some time to kind of process and get ready for it. It doesn't make it any easier, but it allowed you to get into the mindset of what was going to happen. And I think although it is sad and heartbreaking, it's more of you're remembering and it's a celebration now, right? It's a celebration of what he meant to Canada, and we'll never forget what he brought, and we'll never forget what the band did for this country and for the city.
Were you at the concert?
I was not actually. I actually was lucky enough to be at the very first concert in Victoria, which was, I mean, an experience I'll never forget. When the band walked out on stage, the place erupted, and you could see the look on his face because the band, they didn't know what to expect. There was all this lead up. They didn't know what it was going to be like. They didn't know how Gord was going to respond. They didn't know how the band was going to respond. They didn't know how the crowd was going to respond. And if you look at Gord's face when he steps on that stage in Victoria, I'm getting goosebumps right now. He could feel the love. The crowd could feel the love, and it was one of the greatest concert moments I've ever been a part of. And then, of course, I watched it on CBC Saturday night with my wife and my kids. And again, I got to see the first, I got to see the last, and I'll never forget it.